Everyone, hey, it's Nate. I'm here with Outside Cleaners on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I wash the outside of buildings for a living, and because of where I live and the nature of the architecture here, that basically means I clean cedar for a living. I clean cedar of all types: red, white, yellow, shingles, clapboard, shakes, right down the line. I do all the work myself with these two hands. I don't have crews or minions or anything like that. There's a couple things that I'd like everyone who owns a cedar home on Cape Cod to have a basic awareness of. First of all, there's the economics of cedar. Let's talk about sidewall, the siding on your cedar building. Most common by far is white cedar shingled siding. Might not look white over time. It can turn, silver or gray or black or green if things aren't going well. But white cedar shingled siding is by far the most common siding of any type here on Cape Cod. Siding is measured in squares. All right, so on the side of a building, one square is 10 feet by 10 feet. All right, so one square is 100 square feet of siding. As of this date, and this is early June 2024, when I call around and talk to the professional sidewallers that I know, these aren't the Craigslist guys. These are the guys who sidewall for a living. They do it all the right way. They're professional. They're insured. You can figure right now anywhere from $1,200 to $1,400 per square, and that's to rip out the old stuff and to properly install new stuff. So another way to think of that is, let's take the average, $1,300 per square. That's $13 for every little square foot of your cedar sided home. There's big bucks in this. Cedar is very expensive, but it's the real deal. It's not vinyl, it's not aluminum, it's not hardy board. It's the real thing, and it costs a lot to have it replaced. Now, in my view, white cedar shingled siding, if you do nothing at all, if you just put it up and leave it there, it should last at least 30 years. Now, the thing of it is that's how long it will functionally perform its job as cedar siding. It'll keep the rain out from getting to the next layer of your wall, which is a moisture barrier. It'll keep that weather out for a good 30 years plus. That doesn't mean it's going to look good for 30 years. I just got off the phone with a guy from New Jersey, and he was talking to me about his, fancy cedar home on the waterfront, and it's a year old, and his wife is complaining about how moldy the siding is getting. So how long it actually performs its function is different from how long it actually looks good. Now, this is Cape Cod, and people tend to care what their properties look like, what their home looks like. So the aesthetics of cedar is a thing. The aesthetics of cedar is how I can make my living doing what I do. What messes up the aesthetics of white cedar shingled siding? Well, mold, algae, lichen, anything growing on the white cedar shingles will detract from its looks. Some of it will also trap moisture against the siding, and that can over time promote rot. But what I'm trying to say is, if you don't care what your house looks like, never have it washed, okay? If you care what your house looks like, you want to stay on top of it in terms of its appearance. Now, short of having it washed or cleaned, there's definite things that are easy and pretty much anyone can do to help their cedar siding. First thing is, by far, keep everything trimmed back from the house. Bushes, trees. You want to be able to walk between your house and anything growing, okay? So the classic thing that I see around here is they put in the hydrangeas, right? And the hydrangeas are small at first, but then 2 seasons later, they're huge and they're right against the house. And no airflow can really circulate there. When the cedar siding gets wet with rain, it's not really able to dry out because it's not able to breathe, like the old timers said. And that's a true thing. You want your cedar to be able to breathe so that it dries out between rains and it's able to do its thing. Cedar is very long lasting if it's allowed to do its thing. It has, among other things, it has protective oils in it which make it so long lasting. So let it breathe. Secondly, make sure your gutters are clean. And by that I mean make sure your gutters, if you have gutters, make sure they're not clogged with debris and overflowing when it rains, because when they overflow, they're just barfing a waterfall right down your white cedar siding, and cedar that's always wet or wet way more often than it should be isn't going to last as long as it should. Lastly, if your siding gets covered with algae, discolored with mold, if it has fuzzy things growing on it, it can be cleaned. And that's where I come in. Like anything else, just like, our skin, our cars, our clothing, there's lots of different ways that cedar can be cleaned. And in my strong opinion, no one method is appropriate for every situation and every customer. That's why I offer every tool in the book, so that I can offer the right solution to the right job and the right customer. Now, this might surprise a lot of people, and this is really kind of the main point I want to make in this video. Just like our skin or our hair or a lot of other things, white cedar shingled siding can be overwashed. And if it's overwashed, it's going to be severely damaged. And the typical case I see very often around here is, the 6 to 8 year old house that's become discolored. So the homeowners have the house washed and they love it. They love the look. So then they invite the, house washer back the next season to do it again, and then again the next year. And just like, with our skin, every time you clean cedar, you unavoidably and inadvertently strip away some of the natural oils that make cedar so long lasting. So what I'm basically saying is, if you've got a cedar shingled sided home on Cape Cod, it is important to keep it looking its best as you can. But it's also important to not go overboard and have it overwashed or cleaned too frequently, because that will be to the detriment of your expensive cedar siding. I recommend that a cedar house be washed in whatever manner seems best or most appropriate given its condition and the situation and its age and your budget and all these things that we can factor in. And then I can do something to keep your cedar siding clean. It's not rocket science. It's not sealing it. No, I'm not a fan whatsoever of sealing it, because I'm the guy that gets called in constantly to fix the cedar siding that somebody has sealed. No, we clean it, we keep it clean. It's gentle on the siding. It's an inexpensive maintenance process. If you're in the Mid-Cape area and you've got a cedar home, I'd love to talk to you. Again, I'm Nate with Outside Cleaners. Thanks for watching.